The Stockholm Syndrome of SQL. Why relational databases need a diverse, competitive ecosystem of query interfaces. I don't know what it means. This is part one of a series analyzing the relational database landscape and criticizing the design of structured query language. This article. Wow. Our ecosystem of technology tools is modeled after a free market. Is all of our technology tools free market win? We have many platform tooling and people competing to be the best browser, the best language, the best text editor, NeoVim, by the way, the best terminal emulator, the default one, probably. You may have heard of Xterm 256 back in 1986. You may have heard of that one. The best shell, the best line of text that appears above the bit where you type commands into your terminal. There's competition everywhere, and that's great. It's great for people who build infrastructure and products because better tools make their jobs easier. It's also great for people using the infrastructure and those products because they get better experience doing whatever they need to do with those things. A question I've asked myself, my mentors, my friends, and colleagues is, what the hell's wrong with Viewer? What's the deal? What's the deal with databases, and why is there no rich free market of competing ideas? What? Isn't there literally like 9,000 databases? I've often met with responses such as, SQL is fine, don't fix what ain't broken, everybody uses it. Why try to change? Okay, so I'm actually really intrigued by this. What is Barnaby trying to sell us here? Because obviously, maybe there's something different that we have all missed. I can always buy that there is a better way of doing things, that we've optimized into a local minima that may seem nice, but actually isn't good, which is honestly odd, considering that this is the industry within which there are entire movements, almost religious in nature, around fixing and replacing old tools with new tools. Yep. Of course, asking these questions as a developer straight out of university was not normal. The general vibe was that the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed desire to make everything perfect would soon disappear. Well, I mean, I think I feel the first problem, which is that one can strive for, but obtaining? But I'm now a senior engineer. I've built a ton of products and tools, from dev tools to consume apps, and I've written a huge amount of database-related code, from simple queries to long chains of ORM method calls, and all manner of multi-level joins, recursive spaghetti, and the odd MongoDB aggregation. Who doesn't love a good MongoDB aggregation where you accidentally put limit first, and then you never get any results, and you're just confused as to what's going on because you didn't realize that your serialization method for your MongoDB abstraction puts limit first, and you didn't know that because you hand-rolled your own MongoDB aggregation thing that one time. You know you did that. You know you did it, and it was a mistake. Okay? I may or may not have done that last year. I've still got a lot to learn at this stage in my career, but I feel like I'm at a point where I can vocalize my thoughts on this gap in the market. Okay, so let's talk about the free market of software. Okay, I'm ready. Just call me Trustbuster, big data. Okay, here we go. I'm ready, Trustbuster, big data. Let's do this. TypeScript is an entire language backed by $1 trillion corporation with the sole purpose of reducing the likelihood of undefined is not a function popping up in error messages. I love how wrong that is, but I love that it's stated that way. You know what I mean? I love it. I absolutely love it. The goal of TypeScript is to make it more like C# so that C# programmers think the web is Microsoft. I also love that take a lot. Dino was started by Ryan Dahl, who created Node.js in an effort to provide a better platform to build applications using V8. I think there's nothing more hilarious than Ryan Dahl after seeing his first child and going, "You're ugly!" and created a new child and created effectively the same child again. I just think there's something very funny about that. There's just something so funny about it. It's just so good. It's pronounced Vate. Wait, what? What? You can't escape heritage. Deno throws out backwards compatibility in an attempt to fresh start and do things right. It has a decent following and looks somewhat promising. It uses normal TypeScript, compiles to JavaScript under the hood, and executes on the V8 runtime. Yes, of course, because it's V8. You can't run TypeScript. It's basically Node.js, but with native TypeScript support and a different approach to dependency management. Okay. It's actually pronounced. Wait, stop. Shut up. LLVM and JVM both facilitate the existence of about 16 major languages, not including small side projects and non-commercial stuff. I don't think I've ever really heard these two things compared in this way. This is the first time I've ever heard these two together at the same time, okay? Just throwing it out there. They're both lowish level platforms that provide a runtime, optimization, and cross-platform usage. If you write a new programming language and it can be compiled with LLVM or JVM, your new language will run on basically any computer on the planet. Barnaby got me on that one. Barnaby got me. He managed to start off a statement in which I didn't see coming, and ended it in a way in which I can't technically disagree with. Just saying, might have done it. Might have just done it. I've been Barnabied on that one. There are 3 major web browsers currently on the market: Chrome, Chromium, and Chromium. Firefox and Safari, yes, they all have slightly different advantages. It can be frustrating for a developer sometimes to build a website and web experiences because of this, but it's all for a net good: consumer choice, innovation, and market competition. Safari introduced a way to check if the user prefers a dark color scheme, and shortly after, it became a standard across all browsers. Firefox created the development tools, and they are ubiquitous nowadays, which is funny because I can barely use Firefox development tools. Chrome pushed for WebAssembly, and that exists now, so that's cool, I guess. Oh my goodness, that burn was too intense. The Barnaby burn just was so intense. I don't even know what to do with that. You get the idea. There are examples of market competition modeled all over the industry. Even though the vast majority of these products are often free to use, open source, and accessible, they are still treated as products, and the teams building them treat competition products as competition, or competing products as competition. Okay. The database market. It's far less interesting, trust me, okay? Pretty much every mainstream relational database out there uses some dialect of SQL. There are no mainstream relational databases that use any other method of interfacing with data. The top 10 databases, according to dbengines.com, 7 of them are relational, all of them use SQL. Okay? This isn't very diverse. Why do you think that is? I'm kind of just thinking about that. Why is that? And so I'm just going to throw something out there as like my kind of guess, okay? Is that at some point you had a relational database that used SQL. And then for a second database to come in and compete, they too used SQL so that it was an easy translation from one to the other. I'm just throwing it out there as my guess. The reliable operation of databases is about 10,000 times harder than drawing Clippy. It's much, much, much harder to evolve product under those circumstances with this kind of change resistance. Fair. Thank you, Princess, again. I appreciate that. It's an interesting take. It's certainly an interesting take. I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around why. Why? SQL is the culmination of 50 years of engineering by some of the most brilliant people in the world. It's not so easily replaced. Fair. That's when you'd still have new projects being non-SQL, but you don't, really. I mean, some projects just use Excel, right? Dump all your data into Excel. Every attempt at NoSQL has been a total clusterfuck. Yeah, it really has. This isn't very diverse. Is diverse the goal? Right? Like, is that just simply the goal? I thought the diversity on these things was what they offered, not the language that it's back-ended by, right? Like I thought Tiger Beetle was a finance hyper-fast database, still using Squeal, but what it does is the competition. I'm a little confused as why Squeal has to be the point of competition. And I'm not sure if I'd want Squeal to be the point of competition, because then you have 3 different versions or 5 different versions or X different versions of Squeal you're going to have to do versus just simply having the operation of the database itself be the competition. To me, that seems better. But let's keep going. I'm just saying, to me, that seems much, much better. Each database has its own dialect of Squeal, with innovations on top of the base language, but there are no really new ideas here. Squeal is actually a backronym. It was originally named SQL, as in a sequel to Square, specifying queries using a relational environment. Yes, that's the whole mouthful. Why do nerds love long acronyms so much? I don't know. We also love initialisms, okay? Because if you say it SQL, it's actually an initialism. So next time you're arguing with someone about how to pronounce Squeal, you can drop this knowledge bomb. Yeah, it's pronounced Squeal. Squeal was designed in 1973 and made available in 1979. It hasn't really changed much since, unlike the rest of software development world. Okay? Yeah, but do you see what they're working on? Okay? Do you even know what that is? An IBM database admin mixing on a turntable in order to perform a join query. Yeah. I mean, is she a DJ? I don't even know. I don't even know. Okay? I don't even know. The problem. Here's the actual criticism part. Because there's a lot to unpack here regarding what's actually problematic with the status quo of relational databases. I'm going to summarize the issues here and expand in the future posts. I'm aiming to keep this less of a rant and more of a set of proposals for future work in the relational database market. Each future post will outline the issue and a detailed solution in a hypothetical new product. Okay, a human-machine interface versus application programming interface. Why not both? I can't say I quite understand this. I honestly just might be too dumb. A language within a language via string literals is how you lose all static analysis and type safety. Fair. That sounds like a JavaScript problem, honestly. Other languages do have type safety built into it. And it even sounds like JavaScript might even have type safety being built in with like Squeal templates, right? Squeal is too high level to foster an ecosystem of novel approaches to interface design. I think there's just like a lot of fundamental problems even with that statement, which is, I mean, real talk, who here would want a novel approach to interface design for your production database? It sounds a little risky. I mean, I think that's part of the problem is that there's a reason why Squeal sticks around. Shout at me on Twitter. Yeah, South Claus. I mean, I like the name South Claus. That's a great name, by the way. There's a lot of worries here, which is, it's just, oopsies, I accidentally clicked it. It's interesting. There you go. Boom, follow. Did it. Oh, it's his birthday? Yay, birthday. Birthday. Anyways. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Isn't it all just a huge waste of time? Trying to change the status quo may feel like a Sisyphean task, but there's value in it. Did you guys watch Sisyphus on, is it called Sisyphus on Netflix? Korean drama, space time travel. I watched it. It was nice. The Squeal specification is fairly antithetical to the open source and free software world. You don't have to pay to get access to the latest ANSI specification. If a budding new software engineer wants to dig into this document for whatever reason and understand what text is behind the world's most common data query languages, they need to fork out 150 euro, which is a lot of money if you're not already earning a fairly decent software engineering salary in the US, UK, or Europe. Meanwhile, I can freely access the POSIX specification, the HP specification, the ECMAScript specification, better known as JavaScript, the TCP specification, or anything written by the IETF, which are actual web pages, not awkward PDF files. I like this. That's a good take. I do like that. I think any of these things should be fully available. I do think that it's very interesting that ANSI specifications are pay to play. We're not that degenerate. Okay, calm down, Brian Winchester. I can take essentially anything, any existing technology the world's software depends on. By the way, when I got to implement WebSocket protocols, it was just me opening up the RFC, reading it, and making it, and then it worked with Autobahn. It's like pretty cool. Like that's a pretty cool aspect of JavaScript, or of not of JavaScript, of RFCs. It's pretty cool. I can take essentially any existing technology in the world's software depends on, and build my own version of it and test my implementation against a written specification. Yep. If I do decide to pay the price and read the spec, I'm greeted with a huge document because SQL is a huge complex language, and it's far from structured and far from declarative. I read part of the ANSI 1999 specification, which is 23 chapters spread over 1,000 pages. Every spec gets ever more complex. Sounds familiar? C++ suffers the same fate, to the point where professional C++ programmers I know have told me their company just sticks to C++ 11 because the majority of the new features in 17 and 21 are superfluous. There's some nice things that happen later on, okay? There's some nice things. If you want an open standard, just use Postgres. Just use the Postgres one. There are plenty of examples of attempts, some successful, to break away from the status quo and build something better. Go, Rust, and Deno are brilliant examples of these. Both Rust and Deno aims to not only provide languages, but also ecosystems. Rust Cargo and Rust-Up tooling is far superior to the sparse landscape of C++ package managers and compilers. Fair statement. That is a fair statement. It's a Rust article, by the way. It's a Rust article. And by the way, Rust is just C++ OCaml. Dina throws out compatibility for a newer Go-inspired approach to dependency management. I'd honestly like to see a similar movement in the database world. Hot take. What? Prior art. Some people already trying to build better tooling for databases. Most of this work builds on top of SQL, similar to how languages built on top of JavaScript. There are some great projects out there that are attempting to make working with databases easier. I do think all of these are just Frankenstein's monster style abstractions on ever still complexity that is SQL, though. I do love that it's correctly, instead of saying Frankenstein, said Frankenstein's monster. Did you know that there's a line from Frankenstein in which the author, Shelley, she was reading it, and I believe it made her lover pass out from how scary the line was, and it's a line from the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. My wife read me Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner last night. It was very beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. We read poetry together. Weird. By the way, not a big deal. It's a woman. It's a real woman. You wouldn't understand. I get it. You wouldn't understand. I'm probably going to air you guys if you reach out on Discord, because I'll be hanging with a woman, a real one. You wouldn't get it. Back in 2019, Elvis Pranskevikus wrote, "We can do better than Squeal." And it was received with fairly decent sentiment across Hacker News and Lobsters. This is definitely a Rust. We're running towards Rust real fast. There's a lot of don't fix that ain't broken mentality and no desire to innovate on the Hacker News side, which is to be expected, but there's clear desire between those replies for something novel in the database world. That being said, I don't think EdgeDB really solves the problem. It's still string literal oriented query language, not an API. Sure, it proposes some more logical syntax, but it's a whole new language. See part 1 of the follow-up post for more details on this. Isn't the string literal API, isn't the string literal... I mean, I have a slight problem with this because isn't the API, wouldn't that just be an ORM? Right? Like if a database offered an API, isn't that just an ORM? String literal is a literal transport to a separate process across IPC. Yes. No. Yes and no. No, yes. Kind of. Right? Because you couldn't just have it what would the API be? It'd have to be chainable. It would have to be within your process to build up something to send across the quote unquote wire to the other process and or other service across the internets. Camera died? Come on! I left it on all night again, okay? I left it on all night again. Dang it, come on. Okay, I'm dead. All right, Prisma, I love this tool. It's really something useful that saves a ton of time while not succumbing to the usual downsides of traditional ORMs, the ones that map objects to relations. I think there's a lot of database world can learn from Prisma. It solves the type safety and schema source of truth problems outlined in part 2 by generating type safe code. So in other words, I feel like I got pretty close there in saying maybe, just maybe, it's not the database that needs this problem solved. This is not without criticism, though. Some of the existing complaints behind ORMs are valid for Prism, such as they need to perform complex queries not being satisfied by the generated code. Another issue is the code generator must support your language. Prisma users have already been burned by this when they dropped support for Go. I mean, it's why I don't use Prisma. It's as simple as that. Well, I mean, there's other reasons, but one of them is JavaScript exclusive library. Boo. Ent. Ent is a go-to replacement for Prisma for Go developers. It's another code-generating database-first tool for Go programmers to talk to relational databases. I've been using this on a few projects since 2021, and it's fantastic. I have not had to write any raw SQL yet, apart from one instance where I needed recursive common table expression. Okay. 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 Interesting. I mean, maybe I should check out Ent. Ent feels like the canonical database adapter for Go. I'm using it for all my Go projects now, and I have no real complaints except for how the source code-based schema definition is quite complex and requires frequently reading of the documentation combined with trial and error. This is just not a way to sell it. Man, I feel like I just walked into that one. That was just like such a glass door walking right into the glass door. It's fantastic, but it sucks. Prisma's fully declarative schema format also generates safe migrations. Is hard to beat. Yeah. No raw dog on that squeal? Squeal C. There's another Go tool. I'm a Go programmer by profession, so naturally a lot of my evaluations are in the Go ecosystem. Fair. And this one parses squeal files and uses that to generate Go code that binds the arguments to the squeal statements. It's a neat idea and definitely a solid choice if you don't mind writing raw squeal. I don't mind writing raw squeal. Real talk, I'm fine writing raw squeal. One benefit of writing squeal files is that you can get sometimes decent editor integration if your editor is hooked up to live databases, which you can totally do. That's an LSP. I mean, that's literally an LSP. If you can send your credentials over the LSP or have them available in an environment, you can create an LSP that queries the tables and understands what you're saying. Like, to me, I don't understand the problem with that. Since Squeal has no native way of writing declarative schemas, you have to connect to a running database. Yes. Visual Paradigm. This is an old school business process modeling suite that also happens to provide code generation from database schema definitions. It's actually the only other tool I could find that does one. It works with Java only. Yeah, there's like MySQL. I think there's MySQL editor, isn't there? Isn't there like MySQL, something like that? It's some sort of visual editor where you can create your tables and do everything, and then you can generate the squeal from it. If we didn't have Squeal, we would need some other way to do condensed and audit to the operations that the client is trying to send to the server, even just for debugging. I don't see the problem. MySQL Workbench, that's what it's called, Workbench. Yeah, MySQL Workbench. I used that way back in the day. It was nice. That was a long time ago, though. I was using PHP during those days. I was PHPing with the best of them. Can we do recursive for loops and Squeal? What? All right, CockroachDB. Now I'm throwing this in here because this is an example of modern implementation of an Squeal database that's post Squeal compatible. It's written in Go and has venture backing driving the development of software. Cockroach Labs also provides a cloud offering which claims to be scalable across regions. Oh, very interesting. Their blog is a brilliant resource for the internals, and the database core is open source, so it's been a great learning resource for me. But what I really think is impressive with CockroachDB is how they've managed to disrupt the status quo. Being PostgreSQL compatible and horizontally scalable is a huge sell for large applications which need to store a ton of data and be fail resistant. Very cool. Okay, so Cockroach is pretty neat. All right, now, all right. And now, one interesting detail is that CockroachDB isn't fully a conforming of the squeal specification or even PostgreSQL's dialect and features. It still rose to fame and became a fantastic tool. Why? Because a lot of the applications literally just need 4 features: create, read, update, delete. What CockroachDB shines in is providing an amazing overall experience all the way from deployment to querying to scaling out. See, again, I still think that there's like a confusion in this article, which is tying Squeal, the query language, to the tooling around Squeal, right? Like what makes Cockroach nice isn't the Squeal, it's the things around the Squeal. And so I feel like there's like this general confusion that I'm seeing, which I don't disagree with. I actually really agree with what he's saying, like completely. Barnaby, I agree with you. It's just that landing on Squeal as the problem just seems weird. Because Dino still uses JavaScript, so the problem wasn't JavaScript if you're saying Dino fixes it. Right? Like, I'm just saying, it's the tooling around it that you want. There are some great tools out there, but a lot of them, in my opinion, don't quite solve the true underlying problems with existing relational databases. I think there's a lot that can be learned from CockroachDB, Rust, Go, and Deno. I like to say it different every time, focusing on the ecosystem and toolchain side of things and understanding that they don't need to be perfect and satisfying every use case. If a language has a decent package management, decent performance, decent community, and a decent compile time, then it's far superior to a language that only has perfected performance and sucks everywhere else. Go versus C, anyone? Bold statement. Because I think there's definitely time for C. Like, the reasons why I'd use C, Go wouldn't be the, like, alternative. Does that make sense? Low-level learning is not happy. Not happy about that. Like, I know Go and C are practically the same language. Like, they are super close in how they feel and how they look. It's just C is not meant to be used in the same places. Literally, Go is like if C had a baby that's meant for web. It feels odd to compare. Yeah, it does feel odd to compare. It's just an odd two to pit against each other. It'd be better to say Go versus, like, say, JS, right? JS does not have perfect performance, but it also has, like, sucks everywhere else, right? Just saying. It sucks everywhere else, and it doesn't have perfect performance. It seems like JS would be a fair comparison. Maybe you want 2 garbage-collected languages, but one with great tooling versus one without great tooling. That'd probably be a fair way to compare them. So I think there's a huge gap in the market here for database system that provides a decent features, decent type safety via code generation, decent command line interfaces, and a decent API. It doesn't need recursive common table expressions and windowing functions because the people who need those features will likely stick with existing databases anyways. If you like this article, or if this article makes you feel things, at me on Twitter. I think there's a lot of cool things said in this art. Honestly, a lot of cool things. I know I'm sponsored by Terso, but definitely check out Terso. I think that Terso offers something very compelling, which is Squeal Lite. Edge-based replicated Squeal Lite, which I think is really cool. Local reads, remote writes. Like, there's a lot of cool things. And so, again, that's a tooling around a database, which kind of falls into this category, which is you want tooling, right? People want tooling. Squeal Lite is actually amazing. There's a lot of super cool things with Squeal Lite. Like the fact that you can just point a Squeal Lite driver to a file URL and it just works means that you can do some really interesting things with testing. And I mean that. Let's see, I still think every programmer should learn C. So many computer science concepts explained. I do agree. See, there's a lot of great things. I use libsqueal. I just say Squeal Lite because everyone knows Squeal Lite, but libsqueal is Terso's fork, and it has more stars than Squeal Lite, and it's open to the public to make contributions to. So it's kind of like the NeoVim of Squeal Lite. It's the NeoVim of Squeal Lite. You're a Squeal heavy kind of guy? Yeah, I get that.
Welcome
Whoopsies.
to Costco.
I didn't mean to turn on alerts. I meant to turn on that. Hey, the name is... Hold on. What is this hot take? What is the hot take we're looking at? I want to see the hot take. Give me this hot take. Dude, I wish I could just see the thread or click to it. All right. My hot take is beginners should learn on C. I don't think that's a hot take. It was always that or Pascal. Fair. I do think you can learn a lot by learning C. Even if you've been programming JavaScript for 10 years and you have absolutely no other language experience, learning C can really help you in day-to-day life. Honestly, there's so much you will understand about JavaScript by programming in C. There's so much you will understand about the world by programming in C, even if it's just for a moment. You don't need to do it always. Like, I'm not someone that is like a C supremacist, right? I don't think it's the greatest language ever. I think C is incredibly inconvenient. I would rather go use Go and just make a web server. But you can use C. Can C help me get my girlfriend back? I mean, you would have been a Chad to begin with. I'm just saying. I learned all about UB, pointers, and segfaults when I got into C. Exactly. You get the exact idea, which is it just helps you understand what's happening in JavaScript. It helps you understand what's happening in Go. It just helps you look at a language and go, okay, I think I get this. I think I can get this. You got to be careful though. C does transfer hair from your head to your chin. Okay? They call them neckbeards for a reason. Segfault will teach them something all right. Yeah, C paid for my Honda Civic. Let's go. Let's go. You actually talk to a computer in C. Like, literally, you talk to the computer. You're like, give me some memory. I'm going to make the memory say these values, and then I'm going to point to it, and I'm going to interpret those values in this shape. And it, like, works. It's great. There's a lot of cool things about it. The name is the Primogen, is the Ciogen.